Good afternoon, family. Thanks for checking out today's video. If you're new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of losing 300 pounds in 3 years. If you'd like to join the family, hit that subscribe button down below. Also, click on the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. If you'd like to participate in on the discussion, like a bunch of people that were here waiting for me, Rick and Christy and Anna and Shai, you can join me most weekdays when I go live around 4 p.m. Central Time. Sometimes I'm a little late. Sorry, guys. Or outside of my live stream, you can consider joining the Discord I created. There's a link for that down in the description below. Also, down in the description below, there's a link to a Pinterest board. A lot of times we get asked, what are you eating to lose weight? And the best way to find out what we are eating to lose weight is to check out that link down below and see some of the great recipes that we've been enjoying since we started eating this way. Today is day 710. Rick made a comment about that. Thanks, Rick. Today is day 710 of my 3-year challenge to lose 300 pounds. I've used a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet to lose over 220 pounds so far. I am closing in on the end of year 2. I'm looking forward to achieving my goal weight over the next few months or the next year, and then living out the rest of my life at a healthy weight. If anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear them. If you have any on-scale victories, I'd love to hear those as well. You know, how are you doing on your diet? What are you doing to make staying on your diet easier than the alternative? I'll go ahead, switch over here. Hey, Janet, I hope everybody's having a great day. Switch over to this here. It has been a hectic day. I've been on the road all day, and I need to do something because it's going to drive me nuts. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Carrie's here. Hey, Carrie, I hope everything went okay since I last saw you. It's been a hectic afternoon, and I am feeling rushed. I was traveling all day and was hurrying home because I had a deadline so we could go grab the kids or meet the kids after school. So give me a second here. I don't know if I did a very good job of taking photos. I somehow took a photo of that. Okay. Let me see. Oh yes, dinner. I took a photo of dinner last night, but I don't have any other photos, and I'll talk about the rest of the food. I got a little bit of a thing I'm gonna do here. So real quick, let me see. I think I got it up and running. There we go. This is the Linda's meatloaf Carrie made last night. This isn't the best orientation of the photo. I don't know if I can rotate it very easily. Let's go like that and then hit done. There you go. Does that work out better there? Maybe. So this is me just showing the half of tray of Linda's meatloaf that was left when I got home. And then here is a couple pieces that I did have. I actually ate all of, it's way behind me. It's not caught up yet. But that is the first serving I had, and then I had the rest of it. I ate everything that was left over. When I got home for dinner last night, I talked a lot yesterday about volume eating, and I thought that was appropriate for me to eat the rest of it last night. I did not take any photos of the food that I had today, but really all I have eaten today was the oatmeal that I had for breakfast before I got on the road this morning, which kind of leads me. It was interesting because I traveled to the capital. It's a couple hours away, and the first time that me and Carrie went off the diet was when we were up there doing something for her nonprofit. And I was kind of actually in a similar area as to when we were up there. And I was a bit frustrated with myself because I didn't bring anything with me to eat, and I should have brought something with me. I was only up there for a couple hours. I had 5-6 hours of travel for 2 hours worth of meetings, but so I was in my car most of the time. Excuse me. But on the way up, I was wishing I would have had some oranges, bananas, some sort of fruit. You know, I ate oatmeal before I left, so I was satisfied. And I know that, you know, that is enough to get me through for a while if that's all I were to have. So I wasn't really in any danger of getting hungry, but I would have liked to have had something to eat. What was probably more frustrating is that I forgot my water bottle. I specifically took the time to get water together to go, and then I forgot to do anything about it. And so I had a lot of traveling today, which led me to being here very late and very hungry. And so something that I am going to do is I'm going to eat dinner tonight. So if you guys would like to join me for dinner, anybody that's watching this on their replay, some of you probably watch this while you're eating. But I am going to put together a couple things, or I already have a couple things together here to eat. And I will try to talk and eat at the same time. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask me questions and I'd love to answer them. But I'm going to talk a little bit about volume eating like I talked about yesterday. I think that some of the things that I talked about, I could expand on a little bit, and then we'll go from there. So Rick wants to know, what am I eating? So I'm going to start off with my lunch, right? What I would have for lunch. Oh no, I thought I had a fork. I do. Oh. Carrie was nice enough to get some potatoes ready for me for when I got back here. And then I took some broccoli and that I had in the fridge from the other day, and I just threw it in there. So this is potatoes and broccoli. And they're the golden potatoes. Guys, I love these golden potatoes. They are they're like little just they're like potato snowballs. I feel like that they're great, and they smash up great. They're wonderful. Rick says they are the best potatoes. Yes, and just eating them like an apple. So what I love about the potatoes is I can just take them, throw the broccoli in here, and just mix them up. I don't know how much of this audio is going to come over. I hope it's not awful. So, Rick says they are like eating chips, but you just can't eat just one. Yes, Ruffles stole the slogan from just the regular potato. The potato itself is something where you just can't eat one, and you shouldn't just eat one potato. You should be eating multiple potatoes. I didn't even count how many were in there, but I think there was like 4 potatoes left. after I ate the little one. So that, I mean, it's just mashed potatoes and broccoli, super simple. And uh and I didn't have to add anything to make it creamy or make it better. I just have it as it is. So I'm just gonna take big bites and kind of try to talk about some of the things I was thinking about. I had a lot of time to think in the car, and yesterday I was talking about the volume eating and how some people are just designed, or they're just built to eat more food, and it's just natural to them to eat more food. And so it's more important for those people to be concerned about the calorie density. And I know that about myself now. And me and Carrie have 4 kids, and I can see the spectrum across my 4 kids of some kids that can be okay with not eating very much food, and other kids that love to have a volume of food. And I know that it's going to be important for us to make sure that my kids who like to eat everything, know this importance of volume eating and calorie density. Because when they get off on their own and they're making their own choices, they're going to fall into the same traps that I have fallen into for decades. But I feel so much more empowered that I know about it now, and that it's something that I can see. And also with the volume eating, I think that what we're finding is that we have all this access to food now, and the food that we have access to is such a higher calorie density that the if you had a chart that showed the average calorie density of food from 1940, and then the average calorie density in 2020 of the food that's on the grocery shelves, the calorie density is far greater now than it was 100 or 80 years ago. And the people haven't changed. The spectrum of people that like to eat a small amount of food versus the spectrum, like that spectrum of people still is the same. And so I think that's why you would see, also a correlation in the increase in the average weight of people over that time, because the calorie density of the food on the shelves has increased. And we just let it happen. We didn't really even know that it was actively happening. Anne says she takes the potatoes to work and she eats them at room temperature with hot sauce, and she loves them. That's great. I really like having it warmed up, but I definitely would eat it room temperature if that's what I would have had. I wish I would have had some potatoes with me today while I was traveling, so that I wouldn't have been so hungry when I got back to work here. Rick says he can easily eat at least 3 pounds of potatoes in one sitting, which is not good. Yeah, it seems like a lot of potatoes, but if you're able to get it down, I think with these vegetables, your body just takes what it needs. I see so much more waste when I eat now than I used to see before. And I think it's because, all the fiber and so much of the potato that you're eating is indigestible, or your body isn't able to reach it by the time it passes through. So, if you can get 3 pounds down and it's just potatoes, with maybe some vegetables, um, that might not be a bad thing. And if you're continuing to see weight loss too, I think that the potato is not what's going to be hindering your weight loss if you're finding yourself at a plateau. But if you're not seeing a plateau, I wouldn't start blaming potatoes yet. I feel like I'm taking huge bites. I am taking huge bites. I had somebody bugging me. So yeah, with the calorie density of the food on the shelves, I was, got thinking about that and just how it's been just naturally accepted that we would have these things, or it would be, the processed food is just what you have. It's the options you have. And without processed foods, without these foods with a shelf life of months, we wouldn't be able to feed the population. And I think it's just, that's ridiculous, because we feed a population of animals every year that we slaughter with plenty of food that they only retain less than 10% of, to turn it into the meat that people eat. So, but with the food that we have access to, I believe there was a time where it was more important to the manufacturers, what they were putting in these products and the effects it had on people. And the one book I read, the Michael Moss book, Salt, Sugar, Fat, or Sugar, Salt, Fat, I'm not sure which way it is, but it's Michael Moss. He talks about how in the late 1940s, that Jell-O was trying to make an instant pudding, trying to find a way to make pudding faster, because prior to the 1950s, pudding was kind of an all-day process. If you wanted to have pudding for dinner, you had to start making it in the morning. And Jell-O felt like there was a market there if they could figure out how to get it faster to people. And they tried for years to develop a way to get it to happen faster, but they wouldn't let their engineers use any chemicals to make the process happen faster. They had to make everything in the Jell-O whole natural food, like that they could resource. They didn't have to make any chemical engineering or anything. And Jell-O couldn't make a pudding any faster, trying all these different ways. And then a competing company issues a patent where they were going to release a pudding that could be made in 20 minutes. And when Jell-O found out about that patent, they went to their engineers and said, "Hey, I know we said you couldn't use these chemicals, but somebody's going to come out and use this, and we need to do something, because we're going to lose money." And the engineers said, "Well, let us try using chemicals." And they said, "Okay." So they found a way to make the ingredients in the pudding react faster, and they were able to make an instant pudding that they could make pudding in 15 minutes. And then the competitor that had the original patent didn't even get a chance to issue their product, because Jell-O jumped on it so quick, and they gave up that moral ground that they were holding so quickly. Well, who knows how quickly it was. But they gave up that ground in order to not lose the market share. And it panned out for them financially. I mean, we know who they are. And but prior to that, there had to have been an audience of people that were speaking out against these processed foods, and communication was far different in the 40s than it is now. If there was people that were lobbying against this, they lost, and so they didn't have a voice, and their voice maybe not, wasn't recorded. But I got to imagine that there were doctors at the time that were saying, hey, we shouldn't let these things happen. And the and now it seems so just part of the program, part of the plan. Ron says to check out The Poison Squad. It was an interesting book on the food and drug regulation. Yeah, it's wild what when you look at the FDA and politicians and lobbyists and how they are all kind of intermingled. And the book I mentioned, The Salt, Sugar, Fat, talks a lot about that too. The just with, gosh, what was I talking about with the food? That they gave up that, and then it's just become part of life. And I honestly think that they're going to do the same thing in the meat industry. It's going to be this weird thing where everybody's against bioengineering of meat, or they're all against plant-based alternatives for some reason. But I think that these large companies are going to come out with a way to synthesize animal protein or to graft it from something, and they're going to find a way to make meat, and they're going to be able to control it 100%. They're going to be able to control the content of all the chemicals that are in it. And at first there's going to be a little bit of blowback, but these companies, when they start seeing the profit available to them, they're going to develop marketing campaigns that get people to get on board. They're going to find Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and they're going to say, hey, we need you to promote our meat product, and it's going to just slowly become what we go to. And I feel like, in a way, we've already done this with this processed food, that I gotta think there was people back then that were speaking out against the use of these chemicals. And maybe there wasn't. Maybe they don't know the things they know now. But it's a slow build, and it's weird too that when I talk about that Jello story, that's the oldest example of where I've heard of a company choosing profit over its customer. And that has been since my dad was born. And so my entire father's life, he has been hit with advertising and marketing and programs that were designed to accept these chemicals and these shortcuts these companies make in order to make these foods. And so, yeah, just to me, it's I understand why it's so hard to see past it, and I still had issues with the temptations of it and seeing past it. I need to eat this faster. It's getting cold. So that was one of the big things I was thinking about, just the correlation, how the food density is getting higher. Companies are intentionally increasing the calorie density of the food because they just want us to buy the products. And so they're just feeding our natural desire. We all are ancestors from people who nearly starved to death their whole lives. Like, that's something that I didn't appreciate, and I don't think that as a population we appreciate how much our ancestors nearly starved to death. And the reason why I feel like I can say that they did and is because humans have such natural adaptations to be able to go long periods of time without eating, or even eating a singular food, a mono diet. I think that, it's one of the things that we are able to do. It may not be uniquely human to be able to fast. There's other animals that are able to fast, but it is not a characteristic of all creatures. And so that's what helps me to believe that that's something that our ancestors went through. Because if there, and I don't know the exact examples, but there are other animals that can't fast. They need to eat within a certain amount of time. And so, and it's, food is not abundant for any other creature. There's no abundance of food for many creatures, and it's not easy to get from, if it is abundant, I guess. It's kind of how nature works. And so, yeah, like I said, when I had to go an extra couple hours without eating today, I was like, I can survive an extra couple hours. 2 years ago, I would have been like, man, I'm going to be so hungry. What am I going to do? I'm going to be so hungry. But now I was like, I have no problem. I'll just go and I'll eat a large volume of food when I get back. And that is the great thing about eating large volumes of food, is that I can look back on my previous meal and many times be like, oh, that was plenty of food. That should last me a while. So I don't worry about it as much. If you guys have any questions, please ask. And I'm going to keep eating here, though. Tennis and Yoga Girl says, you can exercise on an empty stomach, but at some point you have to eat or your brain doesn't function. I'm glad to see you eating after your long work travel day. Yeah. No, yeah. And we live in a position where you really don't have to, we have access to food, so we don't have to worry about it as much as our ancestors did. And it's something where the food companies and the fast food companies, I think especially, they prey on that kind of the cravings. One of the things that I've read, it talked about how these companies don't care about your hunger. Nobody's really worried about you being hungry, because they know that the people that are seeing their commercials, the people that have the money to buy their products, they're not hungry, because like that. They're not so hungry that they would eat anything. They're not so hungry that they would think that potatoes and broccoli taste good, right? The companies, they are just trying to get your cravings, and they want to get the best response to your, neurosystem as they can, so that you come back to their place, because there are so many different options. of fast food or places to go. So they have to do something to make you go there over a competitor. But yeah, the great thing is we don't have to go a long time. We have such an abundance of food around us. Anthony's checking in saying hi. Hi, Anthony. Just kind of hanging out after a day of travel. I'm actually eating my lunch, I guess. I'm probably going to go home and eat more food after this, but this is my lunch. I'm eating some potato and broccoli. But and if you have any questions, feel free to ask questions. I'm just kind of eating dinner and hanging out. I didn't have much else to talk about, and I was traveling a lot, so I did have a lot of time to think, and I got thinking about different things, and I got thinking about the fast food and how it's really not that much different than the processed food. It's, you know, it's brown food that's packaged in colorful boxes. The colorful boxes just happen to be the buildings, the color that the McDonald's arches is yellow is an intentional color of yellow. The red on their sign is an intentional shade of red. And it's all to entice you to eat their product. But when you pull it out of the bag, many times it's just brown. And it's all just something we all have come to accept. And it's frustrating how we've all come to accept it, but yeah, so many of us sit here and try to, they're not getting any blame for it. Like the fault is at many of these corporations, and I had lost weight previously, and I went to a doctor, and we went and I did a medically supervised, I was taking phentermine and losing weight, and we went on a local television show and talked about my weight loss experience. I was over 400 pounds when I started. I got down, I was under 300 when I was on the show, probably similar to the weight I'm at now. And I got on there and really was wanting to talk about just confidence and being able to do it and being confident that you have the strength to do these things. And at the time, I thought that was true. What I realized in hindsight is that everything that all my success was because of the phentermine. It wasn't because I was doing anything great, but one of the things that the doctor kept talking about is people getting out of this victim mentality. And I was kind of, it's a weird, like, there's different types of victim mentalities, that there's different ways you can make yourself the victim. But I think in a way we are all kind of a victim of the society that we've grown up in, the society that has allowed companies to use chemicals to alter our foods for our entire generation, for me, and in the previous generation for my parents, or many of you that were born after the 1940s. The companies value the bottom dollar far more than they value their customers' health. And also because there's not an immediate, like, oh, that guy ate our product today and he dies tomorrow, then the companies would address that. But these diseases that we're getting, they don't happen that way. And it's, we have this mentality that people never used to live to be 80 years old before. And the only reason why we see so many people with cancer now is because there's more people making it to 80. That may account for some of it. But I think that so much more, and maybe cancer is not the right example. Maybe heart disease or diabetes or something else that is more diet related is a better example. But it wasn't the people still got to be old before. And the reason why the average age goes up is because young people are dying far less. And so we, as a society, I feel like have accepted disability at old age because more people get to old age than used to get to old age. And I don't know that that's really the case as much as we like to believe it is. Says I'm lagging a lot. Let me see. This is just water. Says excellent connection, but it does look like it's lagging a lot. At the same time, it's being very, very contradictory. Just flashed at me. Don't know what's going on. Trying to think of some of the other things that I was thinking about on my trip. So I talked about the doctor and the victim mentality. I guess I didn't. There's so much of what we come to know just from our experience. And if we, okay, so Anthony says the video is lagging, but the audio is not lagging. That's interesting. We have to realize that, I guess what I was saying is that I didn't agree with maybe there may be different types of victims, or there's different types of victim mentality or examples of victim mentality. But I think that we all have to realize that we have been constantly bombarded with misleading advertising our whole lives, and it's been accepted. And the companies, we'd like to think that the government is got things in place to protect us. And so many times I've seen examples where it isn't really. Anthony says the audio is not okay now. What's going on? Let me see. I don't think there's anything I can do to refresh it. It just says the stream strength is excellent. I don't know. I can check this and see. See what happens. Let me see what happens. Stupid internets. You gotta always mess up. No, it shouldn't be giving me issues. Is it my computer? Maybe my computer's saying, hey, we have enough tabs open. 30 tabs is enough, bud. Let me just try killing these tabs. And closing this program. See if that helps out at all. No. I guess I'll finish eating this while I see if my computer is going to get better. Now it says poor. Now you tell me. Still says it's not working right. Better for now, says Christy. Audio for you is fine. It's just I don't know. Just crappy. All right. So hold this up long enough that I'll hold this up long enough till I see it come up on my video stream here, because the video is way behind, but I finished it. Oh, I finished most of it. There's little scraps. Let me see. See, it's up there for now. I don't know if this is catching up or what's going on. All right. I promise it's gonna catch up. It's gonna, like, all of a sudden say, we got you. I have great speeds. So I guess it would be my upload speed. I didn't pay attention to my upload speed. What was I thinking? All right. Come on. Get good. Get good. Try more time. So, just come home, Carrie says, but I'm trying to avoid coming home. That's why I'm doing this here. I'm trying to stay away from home as much as possible. I should just come home. Let me see if it gets any better. Yeah, it's the upload speed is just gone to shit. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to curse. John, Carrie misses me. Well, shoot. I don't know if it's gonna get better, guys. Let's see. Oh, I just watched myself get up and walk away on stream. I'll be back in a few seconds. I don't know if my audio is coming across live or if it's also delayed. But I'm gonna have to give up on the rest of it here. If the audio is coming through, Rick, just to respond to your comment about at least you eat with your mouth closed. I definitely eat with my mouth closed. That was one of the table rules at home growing up. So seeing you say that makes me laugh, because that was definitely an important trait to have, was eating with your mouth closed. So I really wanted this to catch up, but I just don't think it's going to happen. It says it's better than it was, but I don't know that it's as good as it should be. Yeah, Rick says it's all good now. Yeah, it's one of those things where I get great uploads or download speeds. It's the upload speeds that is the issue. So if it doesn't, well, okay. We'll see. Okay. I didn't really have a whole lot more to talk about. I guess what I was going to do or was going to say was that I believe that volume eating is very important on this way of eating, and that if you choose the right foods, it also makes a huge difference. And there's a lot, like I listened to a couple different influencers that, are of different opinions of me, but I still like to see what their opinions are and hear what they say. And they really promote the calories in, calories out. And I feel like we have it just so wrong. And again, it benefits these companies for us to believe this calories in, calories out. And that if we know, and the reason why it's become a thing too, and I'm just thinking of this, is because they have the nutrition labels on the foods now with the calorie counts. Like calories in, calories out wasn't a thing in the 90s because they didn't have calories on the food like we do now. From what I understand, like that was kind of something that, again, that's a thing that it's been such a part of my life, being able to see what was in the products and what's on the nutrition labels, that I kind of assumed that it's always been that way, but it hasn't always been that way, that we could see what was on these products. So while I rant a little bit about the calories in, calories out, what I wanted to do was also talk about or show how important I feel like the volume eating is. And so I ate the potatoes with the probably less than half a bag of broccoli, but I also warmed up and got together some more food here because I'm very hungry and I'm not scared to eat a lot of food. So what I have here is let me do this. Yeah. This is our Spanish rice and beans. There we go. And I am going to eat some of this because I was hungry and I'm not afraid to eat food. And in all my past diets, I was so worried about volume and calories in, calories out. Carrie says that she hopes all this means that I'm not planning on a big dinner tonight. I may, who knows? It depends on what you make. I'm not going to worry about it though, because I know the last time I ate plenty of food. Carrie says I shouldn't plan on a big dinner because she doesn't want to cook. Not because I shouldn't want to eat. And so this is the Spanish rice and beans. Let me knock that off. So let me put it right up there. There you go, guys. You can have a bite of it there. Ooh, there you go. Focus. Delicious. So good. Really, in contrast, so many different flavors. But I think that they use this calories in, calories out. And Carrie says, that was her lunch. Yes, this was a full bowl of this morning. And now it's actually a half bowl. I kind of scraped it all to the side now. So you can see that it's not a full bowl of rice and beans, but it is a good size portion of it. This is what many people would eat for dinner, probably just this alone. So, but this calories in, calories out, it drives the volume. It drives you to this low volume diet because you want to eat, eat whatever you want. Just make sure you don't hit, X number of calories. Oh, so that means I can have a slice of pizza and then all my calories are shot, but I got to have the slice of pizza. And your body doesn't care about the density of the food. Your body cares about the volume of the food. Your body's going to say, hey, we need 4 pieces of pizza. You can't give us 1. For a while you can do it where you can do 1 piece, but then eventually you give in and you have the 2 pieces or the 4 pieces, and you aren't able to stick to that low volume diet because your body is constantly asking you for more volume. My body isn't asking me for more food when I get done eating. My body's saying, hey, thanks. That was great. Let's do it again in a few hours. They're not saying, oh, that was it. Like, that was kind of a tease. Thanks. And that's what I love about this diet. Like I get to eat so much more food, and that calories in, calorie out mentality, it drives the volume down, which leads to diets that are unsustainable, which leads to this environment that we have right now with working out and with food. I wish people understood this calories absorbed. It's so important to realize that if you eat foods that are harder to absorb, like this food here is hard for my body to absorb. This is whole grain rice and it's beans that are still in their skin. So when this goes into my digestive system, my body is only going to have really good access to the rice that I took a lot of time to chew in my mouth. And I noticed that some of the rice goes through and I eat it quick, but then other parts of the rice, I actually sit there and I munch and chew on those little kernels and I mash them up. And I do it a lot with my oatmeal too. Like I think it's kind of an interesting thing, but I enjoy taking oat groats and kind of mashing them and flattening them like what rolled oats end up being. Like I can tell that I'm hitting them at the seam and they're opening up and they're flat, and then I can flatten them with my teeth like a rolled oats is. There's something oddly satisfying to it. And I don't know, I never noticed it with other foods before, and maybe it's because the flavors were so caused such a response that I didn't even pay attention to the texture. But I mean, the corporations definitely pay attention to the texture. But with the calories in, calorie out, this food, somebody could sit here and say, hey, that bowl you have in front of you is 500 calories worth of food. And I would say, okay, that's 500 calories worth of food. Yes. But my body is not absorbing all 500 of these calories because it can't. There's a lot of these beans, especially when I eat it quick like I did there or what I'm doing now while I'm on here. I'm not mashing those up at all. That rice barely got chewed. And so my body can only access the parts of this food that it has that it can get. And it's something where I didn't know how important this was before, and I didn't understand how it worked before. But our bodies absorb our food through our intestines, but it absorbs what is touching the intestines. And so if there is the skin of the bean between the actual meat of the bean and your stomach lining isn't going to absorb those nutrients from that bean because the skin is in the way. And so when I eat this 500 calories worth of rice and beans, my body may only absorb 380 of those calories. And so I'm actually allowing myself to eat more volume of food and absorbing fewer calories. When you eat the processed food, when they take this rice and they take this beans and they take these tomatoes and they extract nutrients from them, or when they blend them up and they make them more liquefied, then your body can absorb them more. And I think it's that there's an analogy I think so many people have seen where there's a teacher that he has a cylinder and he takes that cylinder and he fills it full of rocks. And he says, you know, how many people here would say that this cylinder is filled with rocks? And everybody would say yes, or the cylinder is full because it appears full of rocks. But then he takes some smaller rocks and he puts that in there. And then he says, now who thinks it's full? And people are like, yeah, it's definitely full now that you know, but then he takes sand and he pours that in there. And then the sand fits in between all the crevices and he's able to put a large amount of sand in this container that's full. And then he says, is it full now? And, you know, it's very full. It's got rock and pebbles and sand in there. And then he takes water and he puts water in there and he can fill it with water. And I think that that's a great analogy for our intestines too, because our body's going to absorb what's touching the sidewalls of that cylinder. And if you look at that experiment, when he put the rocks in there, the rocks weren't touching a lot of the sidewalls. There was maybe a corner of the rock that's touching on this side and another corner of a rock that's touching over there. But then when he put the pebbles in, then those were kind of more touching the walls than the rocks were. But then the sand really did, and then the water did definitely. And when we process our food, that liquefies our food more. And so if I were to eat 400 calories worth of corn, if you gave me 400 calories worth of corn kernels and put them in front of me and said, eat these, I would eat them. My body would absorb what it could. Depending on how well I chew them, it will determine how many calories I absorb. If you gave me that same calories worth of corn syrup and said, hey, here's corn syrup. This is 400 calories. Drink this shot glass or whatever it would be worth of corn syrup. You drink that. That liquid is going to be absorbed completely by your body because it can get through the cracks. It can get to the sidewalls. And so 400 calories of a whole natural food is not equal to 400 calories of that same process, or of a processed version of that same food. And so that causes that calories in, calories out equation to me to fall apart. We also all absorb food at a different rate, just like there's bell curves of the way people have different genetic traits and the amount they eat. We all have different genetic makeups for how much our body absorbs the food that we eat. So it does vary from person to person. And Ron says here that he eats a bit slower with whole foods since you need to chew more. And notice the texture, like I commented for the rice. Yeah, and I love it. I think another issue with the calories in, calories out philosophy that people take is that they also don't account for the amount of energy that your body has to take or use to get those calories. You know, it isn't a zero. It doesn't take zero effort for our body has to expend some effort to get these calories. And when the food is tougher for our body to get the calories from, that means that not only are we getting fewer calories, but we're burning more calories in the act of trying to get them. Whereas with my corn example, with the corn syrup, your body has to use zero effort to absorb those calories because they're already in a liquid form and they're already completely processed in that way. And so the calories in, calorie out, I definitely thought that it was important, and I think that it's factually correct. You can't really poke holes in the concept of if you consume fewer calories than you expend, then you'll lose weight. That's what happened. That happens for anybody who loses weight, is that you have expended more calories than you have consumed. But when your body can absorb 90 to 100% of the calories that you eat, then it makes it more difficult to meet the volume needs that your body has. Because when you get to your calorie limit, you may have only had 2 pounds of food. You didn't have the 4 pounds of food that your body craves. And we have to you just have to pay attention to it more. Like when I eat a whole food plant-based diet, I don't know the percentage, and I'm making these up, but I know that my body's absorbing. I can see it. I can do amateur tests to know that my body doesn't absorb all the corn that I eat, that all the beans I eat don't get eaten or don't get processed or absorbed. But the I had it and then I lost it, and then I had it and I lost it. You know how that goes. When I'm eating this food, it has I'm absorbing fewer calories, a smaller percentage. And so if, let's say, I'm going to just use 3,000. Let's say 3,000 is the calories that my body expends in a day. If I eat 3,200 calories of a highly processed diet, my body will likely have absorbed nearly 3,000 calories worth of that food. It will have absorbed it and stored it or used it for current energy. If I eat a plant-based diet, I could eat maybe 4,000 calories worth of food, but my body still only absorbs the 75%. So I'm still at 3,000 calories. So I get to satisfy this volume need and also keep myself under calories. And it's great. It's what I think that more people need to understand, and I wish I could reach more people with it. It also helps I have this big beard. Covers up my lips a little bit so you can't see when I'm eating with my mouth full or chewing with my mouth open. So yeah, like I said, I just got thinking about a lot of things today, and those were a few of the things that kind of were coming up. One of the only other things that, I thought about, and I got real frustrated with my past self. I got thinking a bit about, the influence that you have on other people when you lose weight. And when I lost weight before, I had such an arrogance I felt about my success. And, I was like, anybody can do it, and I think that that was not true of that weight loss. That weight loss was not a weight loss success story that would be looked back on and said, that's how you do it. When I was taking the phentermine and eating 800 calories a day and eating just junk food like Pringles and Kit Kats and Polish sausages, like just like the lowest tier of food you could possibly eat. People were curious. They wanted to know what I was doing, and I would tell them, what I was telling them was the truth. And it was that I wasn't eating, and they'd be like, oh, that's awful. And I was like, no, anybody can do it. And I was so full of BS. Like, I thought anybody could do it, but anybody could do it if they were taking a regular dosage of phentermine that fit their, what they needed for success, like the dosage I was taking was good for me. Some people take it and it's too much, but if they took a different dosage, I'm sure that they could find a right amount of that drug for just about anybody. Anyways, what I was getting frustrated though was just how much, like I said, I thought I had it figured out, and I was kind of a bit, I felt like maybe I was a bit, I can't think of the word right now, but like, didn't give them credit for their difficulty. Like I was, and, because I had this, if I can do it, anybody can do it mentality with it. And it didn't help anybody, and when I look back, the reason why it didn't help anybody is because it wasn't successful. It wasn't going to succeed. In the moment, I looked successful, from somebody who hadn't seen me for 10 months, and then they saw the difference in me. They saw success. And the advice I gave them was awful advice, and I can't take it back. But it's something that I wish, that because I've been doing this, like I said at the beginning, this is day 710. Like I'm so, I was so confident in this diet 11, 12 months ago. And 11, 12 months ago, that was as far as any other diet got ever for me ever. I never made it to a year with any diet. I think 9, 10 months was the longest. And so for me to think I had it figured out in 10 months was a bit ridiculous. And I may have figured out a lot of success on how to lose weight, but I never learned how to maintain weight, And I still follow people that frustrate me, that they talk about, eat this program to lose weight, and then we'll switch to a maintenance program. And if the maintenance program is going to get you to maintain that healthy weight, then eating the maintenance program starting today should get you to that healthy weight eventually. Like, it's a weird thing, but we feel like we have to burn off this extra fat. Like, we have to shave it off. Like, we have to remove it physically because we put it on. And we put it on so passively, and you don't realize it when you're putting on a quarter pound a week, and then at the end of the month you're a pound heavier, and then a year later you're 12 pounds heavier. For some of us those numbers are multiplied by 10, but the sorry guys, I just lost my place a bit. I'm gonna take a bite and think about it. Maybe two. Gosh, I'm gonna need somebody to throw me a bone here. I can't think of where I was at all. Like, totally blanking. Talking about influencing people and being pissed at my old self because I thought I figured it out. Yeah. And just now, like, and I still don't have it figured out. Like, I feel like I know so much more than I knew 2 months ago, light years more than I knew a year ago, and an infinite amount more than I knew 2 years ago. So, continuing to educate myself and learning has been a huge part of this. But so yeah, I was talking about the eating slowly to lose weight. Like, if your maintenance diet is going to keep you at 190 pounds or 160 pounds or whatever your goal weight is, then that maintenance diet should be able to get you there. It's just not going to be as fast as you want. But I am continuing to lose weight because the amount of food that I am eating is not enough to sustain somebody at 296 pounds. If I was eating enough food to keep somebody at 296 pounds, then I would stay 296 pounds or I would gain weight. And I've shown that over the past 11 months where I've been floundering, that when I'm eating off diet, I don't lose weight or I gain weight because I'm not eating my maintenance diet when I'm eating off diet. When I'm eating on diet, this food here, this is my maintenance food. What I get to eat now, what I am eating now, what we've perfected to our palate. The flavors that are in this, I could hand this to somebody and I could say, hey, Ron, try this. And he could say, oh, that's way too spicy. But we perfected it to us, and we've taken 2 years to make this the way we like to make it. But this is my maintenance food. I'm not on a diet and then going to switch to a maintenance program. I'm on my maintenance program. It just happens that my maintenance program is for somebody who weighs 220 pounds. So until I get to 220 pounds, I'm gonna do there. Ron says too slow, but you can speed it up. Like, that's the great. Or I guess. Oh wait, hold on. Plans that have 2 modes don't work. You need the everyday steady plan for success. Okay, sorry, I missed your first comment there, and then I read your second. Yes. Yeah, they don't. I learned how to eat like a 90 pound anorexic person when I was on phentermine. I never learned how to eat right. And when I couldn't take the drug anymore, I just went back to what I knew because I couldn't continue to eat like a 90 pound anorexic. I had to eat more food. So, oh, you typed too slow. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, the just this whole process has just been crazy. Like, like if I didn't challenge myself to do this for 3 years and kind of do it on YouTube and show what's going on, I don't know where I end up. I don't know how long I take it and stick to it. I think that, I mean, without YouTube, I suppose I don't look up some of the things and find out about the True North Clinic and water fasting and those things that I learned while I did, at the beginning of this challenge. But the mentality of as fast as possible is also extremely toxic to our society. This idea that you have to get the weight off as fast as possible. And I was part of it at the beginning of this. That's the start of this channel, was me saying, I got to get this off as fast as possible. I'm going to do a water fast for as long as I can. And I did lose a ton of weight. But what I didn't realize, what I knew going in, but I had to prove to myself, was that it was the time commitment. I knew going in that it was going to be sticking to this for a consistent amount of time that was going to be my success. But I wanted to prove myself wrong by losing the weight as fast as possible. And so I think that this challenge kind of did, it put that to the test, and it said, okay, go lose it as fast as possible. And then I realized very quickly that I needed to change my thinking, and that it is the time. It is the being able to go through a relapse and come back. Like, cause that's what I did. Like, my relapse wasn't as bad as past relapses has been. And that almost made it more difficult to come back. Like, the last thing I thought when I started this diet was that I wasn't going to eat animal products anymore. Like, when I started this channel, I always intended to continue to eat animal products. And so that in itself was a huge change for me. And so the fact that I've never gone back on that is something that I've always held on to, and I can always continue to hold on to it. And so when I relapsed with the processed foods and started eating things that had salt, sugar, and fat in them, or added to them, then I was still holding on to that. Well, at least I'm not eating animal products. I haven't gone all the way back to where I was. And so that almost made it more difficult for me to get back from that relapse. But now I feel like I'm back from the relapse. I'm back from my fourth relapse, I guess. Like, if I really look back and see how many times I tried to get back on the wagon over that year. But now I feel so confident, and, I'm 43 days into kind of being recommitted, and that means I still have 290 days to go before I can say that I've reached the longest that I've stuck to it, That's the goal right now, is to beat my old streak and to get to my goal weight too. Ron says that you think speeding or expecting weight loss can overwhelm the individual who is already making big life changes. Keeping it consistent is best. Yes, consistency is a huge role, or plays a huge factor in this. That's, what I wish I would have known 8 years ago when I was giving people advice, is chain as many good days as you can together. And, after a while, start using that chain to strengthen yourself, to say, hey, I've already made this chain 200 days long. Let's make it 300 days long. Let's make it 400 days. Let's make it 1,000 days long. But until you start putting that chain together, you can't get excited about it building, because it's still just a small chain. And but having those consistent days of success is really going to see. And when you're speeding through the weight loss, when you hit the bump, it's so much tougher. You're going to hit a bump that, might be uncontrollable. You may retain water 1 week for some reason, and then you see it as a failure, and you don't go on. And Ron says, like you mentioned us, you remind us daily, moderation does not work. Yes, I actually stopped saying that at the end of the videos, but don't fall for the myths of moderation, the myth of moderate change, the myth of moderate consumption. There we go. Bowl of rice done. These are 2 huge bowls. The rice wasn't full, obviously, but these are, let me see, big as my head. Wrong way. Oh. I'm not afraid to eat a volume of food. I love the food that I eat. It tastes amazing. It seems simple. It's not that tough to make a lot of these things, and it is so good. So, but yeah, don't fall for the myth of moderation, the myth of moderate change, the idea that you can slowly make changes, and eventually you'll go from eating this unhealthy processed diet to starting to favor salads over Snickers bars is ridiculous. And if you want to see big changes in your life, you have to make big changes, especially with this diet. You're going to have to go through a detox. I really feel like, the best plan is to do some sort of mono diet, juice diet, fast to start, whatever you can do, but come out of that with a pantry full of whole food, plant-based foods, and just eat an abundance of whatever you're craving. When I started, I ate a lot of corn from a can because it was easy. Pineapple, just do what you can. Anthony says no Snickers, but it's Halloween. Yes, that's why our kids hate Halloween now. They don't get to keep all of the candy that they collect from the houses. So they still like it. They still have good candy, but they don't get to enjoy it all. But that's also not a bad thing either, I suppose. So yes, I ate kind of a lunch dinner. I hope you guys enjoyed eating dinner with me. if you are watching this on the replay and you have any questions, feel free to throw them down below. And maybe if I sit down and eat dinner again, I can go over the questions that people have asked me on this video. So go ahead, comment down below or ask away. So, but yeah, that was a very long video, hour and a half. I'm sure Carrie's like, what the heck are you doing? You didn't talk to me about this at all. And now you're not home after being gone all day. So that's how awesome of a husband I am. I'll try to make it up. But yeah, I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys hanging around and just chilling with me while I ate and talked about some of the crazy things that were going on in my head. Don't trust the corporations. Stop buying brown food out of red boxes or blue boxes or orange boxes. Stop buying the processed foods. Buy foods that they want to show off. They want, buy the fruits and the vegetables. Carrie says she texted me. I don't even look at my text message. I didn't know about the second part of that. So anyways, I will talk to you guys later. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, get subscribed to the channel. Click on the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. Also give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't started your diet yet, get started right now. Go buy a big sack of potatoes and start eating potatoes. But get your diet started right now. Nobody reaches their goals, looks back and says, man, I wish I would have waited. I had that event that I decided that week before to start my diet. And my life would be so much better if I would have went and had a piece of cake at that event. Nobody says that. Everybody looks back and says, I wish I would have started this sooner. I wish I would have known this years ago. I would have changed my ways so much sooner. And so get started right now. And you guys all have a great evening.